Joe W. Clapper, 1st Marine Division. Oral history interview for the National Museum of the Pacific War in Fredericksburg on August 28, 2010. He was interviewed at the 1st Marine Division Association reunion in San Antonio. Joe W. Clapper was born March 22, 1924, in Jonesboro, Indiana. His family would later move to Kalamazoo, Michigan. After graduating from high school in June 1942, he enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps Reserve. After training in San Diego and Camp Elliott, California, Joe sailed on a Liberty ship to Melbourne, Australia. He was assigned to K Company, 3rd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment, 1st Marine Division as a replacement. While in Melbourne, Joe said the Marines had training exercises at the cricket grounds. He, as many WWII service members commented, liked the friendly Australians. From Melbourne, the 1st Marines went to Goodenough Island off New Guinea. Upon leaving Melbourne, the stevedores were on strike, so the Marines had to load their own ships. On December 26, 1943, the 1st Marines came ashore and saw action at Cape Gloucester, New Britain, as part of Operation Cartwheel. An important objective of Cartwheel was to neutralize a major Japanese base at Rabaul, New Britain. In April 1944, the 1st Marine Division left New Britain and went to Pavuvu Island in the Russell Islands to rest and train for the assault on Peleliu. The Russell Islands are comprised of 2 small islands, Pavuvu and Banaka, as well as several islets, which are northwest of Guadalcanal and part of the Solomon Islands chain. The Battle of Peleliu began on September 15, 1944. Joe, in his interview, said Rive, the military wake-up call, was at 1 a.m. The ship served steak and eggs that morning, and then began the transfer of the men from the larger ships to the beaches. When Joe landed on White Beach in the first assault wave as Japanese machine gun fire raked the beach and sand was flying through the air, he said, it was like trying to run between raindrops. Near the end of the first day of battle, Joe's life was saved by a young Marine. It had been discovered that the Marine was 15 years old. The paperwork to send him back to the U.S. had not been completed, so J.M. Morsey from Harlan County, Kentucky, went on the Peleliu operation. Joe called him Junior. Junior had yelled at Joe, "Look out, Joe, a Jap." Joe said he turned to look after the warning and was looking into the rifle barrel of a Japanese soldier. Junior killed the soldier. Joe in his interview was still very grateful that Junior, who should not have been there, had saved his life. On the second day of the battle, Joe saw a good friend of his die. Fortune Orlando Rosencrantz, 3, from Pennsylvania, nicknamed Rosie, was fatally shot in the chest, and the bullet blew his lung out his back. Joe still carries that image of Rosie with him. On that same day after Rosie died, Joe was hit by a bullet in the left upper chest area. A U.S. Navy corpsman put a bandage on the wound, and Joe was evacuated to the beach and transferred to a hospital ship offshore. Joe commented in his interview that the beach was carpeted with dead Marines. Joe Clapper's next battle would be the Battle of Okinawa. By war's end, Joe received 3 Purple Hearts, 1 Purple Heart for his wound at Peleliu and 2 Purple Hearts for wounds received on Okinawa, 1 wounding from shrapnel, and then another wound from Japanese machine gun fire. Joe Clapper passed away January 31, 2019.